Al in New Jersey. You're on the NHL Hour. This is Sirius XM.
Hey, guys. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, well, I just have a question. It's kind of apropos for today. Something I noticed, the way it's been for the last decade, the Atlanta Thrashers have been in the Eastern Conference, Columbus has been in the West. But actually, when you look at a map, the Phillips Arena, in order from west to east, it goes Phillips Arena, Joe Louis Arena, and then the Nationwide Arena. So I was just wondering if there were any plans to actually make a conference switch between Atlanta and Columbus. I know it's a silly question, but I just wanted to ask.
You know, it's not a silly question because we get asked these questions all the time. Columbus, who's in the Eastern time zone, would like to be in the East. Detroit, which is in the Eastern time zone, has periodically said, you know, that's an issue for us. Toronto got moved from the West to the East a number of years ago. Atlanta, I'm sure, has no desire to move to the West. The only way you can move somebody is to either come up with a completely new structure, you know, go to 3 conferences or 14 conferences. I'm making that up.
Because you're talking an even number here.
Right.
It's not as if it's an odd number.
And so if you move somebody east, or in order to move somebody east, somebody in the East has to agree to go west. And everybody in the East is in the Eastern time zone, and they're not too anxious to go west, particularly for their road games when they're on TV late at night. Mm-hmm. And so there isn't a move afoot to move anybody right now. A franchise literally would have to move in order for us to consider making a conference composition change, or we'd have to come up with a new format like 3 conferences where you do East, Central, and West. Although at one point in time, years and years ago, we looked at that, but we couldn't figure out quite how to do the playoffs. And since there wasn't an overwhelming amount of interest in making that change, we didn't bother figuring out how to do the playoffs because odd number going into the playoffs with a bracket doesn't work so
well, it's almost like creating the NHL schedule. There's a domino effect if you consider moving one team that affects way more than just that one team.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Seth on Long Island. Doing my best Karnak imitation, I can guess what he wants to talk about. Seth, glad you called in. What?
You.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you, Bill. This is the greatest show for any sports fan. If you like hockey, this is the greatest show I've ever actually listened to. So thank you for doing this every week.
Thank you, but that comment's a bit overwhelming.